Are you feeling stuck? If so, this is your exclusive invite to Vortex Yoga Retreat in Sedona, Arizona, this October 11th through 14th, 2024. Sedona's breathtaking red rocks transform into a fiery masterpiece in the autumn. Imagine practicing yoga amidst this stunning backdrop, feeling the ancient vortexes amplify your intentions and awaken your spirit. This retreat is for you if you crave a deeper connection with your energetic body, the chakras, you're ready to align your life with purpose and passion, or you seek a transformational experience to unleash your inner power. Here's what awaits you: 4 days and 3 nights nestled in Sedona's beauty, daily yoga and meditation, delicious local dinners, sound healing, hiking to infamous Sedona vortexes, connection with like-minded souls on this empowering journey, learn chakra balancing principles and practices, and a special gift from your hosts. Don't wait. Space is extremely limited and spots are going fast. Visit rachakaretreats.com/Sedona to book your spot and choose your accommodations, or click the link in the show notes. Use code MYYT for 10% off. Are you ready to balance your energy and align your life? Hey yogis, MaKenzie Fly here, mom, yogapreneur, teacher trainer, retreat leader, and your guide to master your yoga teaching. This podcast is your weekly dose of actionable wisdom and candid chats with industry experts. Learn to connect deeper, weave yogic magic, and lead by example. Full disclosure, I'm still mastering it too, but together we'll skyrocket your impact and income. Hit subscribe and let's grow, one episode at a time. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to MYYT, where you are learning to level up your yoga teaching one masterful class at a time. It's a new month, which means that it's a new mood. And this month, being May, means that it's finally time to use my favorite GIF. I don't know if it's a GIF or a meme, but maybe you've seen it. It's of Justin Timberlake. Back in the day when he was with NSYNC, I believe, and he's got bleach blonde hair that kind of looks like ramen noodles, like it's got that kind of appearance to it. And it's him singing, and then the top of the meme says, "It's gonna be May." It's my favorite GIF of all time, favorite meme, whichever it is. It's so good, and you'll probably see me posting it. That's always what I think of when it's May. But the mood of the month around here on MYYT is on letting go. The first Wednesday of every single month, what I like to do around here is supply you with a story or a theme that is really inspiring me. So that's what this episode is about. You guys were extra lucky because I provided a bonus episode of the retreat recap. So that's not always usual, but what is consistent is the first Wednesday of every month, I want to come in and give you inspiration. So I recently found this story again. I've seen variations of this story before, and you might, as I'm telling it, be like, oh, I've heard this story before, but a slightly different variation. And that's pretty normal of a lot of the Buddha's stories. But I really, really appreciate this one. And I ended up using it in class, and I had a bunch of students come up afterwards and say that they loved it. I even shared it on socials. I put it on my story, or actually before that even, I think I commented on somebody else's Instagram post, and a whole bunch of other people were liking it. Another yoga teacher out there was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I love this story. Thank you so much for typing it out. And she shared it on her story, and then I reshared it on mine. So it's definitely one that lands and works really, really well in your yoga classes. So what I like to do is break up stories into what I call breadcrumbs, which is an affectionate way in my brain to lead yoga students back home to themselves, kind of like the children's story Hansel and Gretel. You know how the children kind of left little breadcrumbs along the way to help them find their way back. When it comes to storytelling, I really like this imagery because it helps you as a teacher realize that your job isn't to give this Dharma lecture in the beginning. It's not like you're unpacking this whole discussion, but to be able to effectively teach a yogasana class, a class that has a physical posture. And being a hatha yoga class, the yoga of breath and movement, you want to make sure that you're telling the story in a way that's not getting in the way of the rhythm of the class. So you need to be quite good at taking this long story and kind of breaking it up into these bite-sized pieces that you can drop throughout your class so that you can do both at the same time. Carry on the rhythmicity, teaching the yoga postures, while also infusing elements of storytelling and infusing some yoga philosophy. So what I'm going to show you kind of here is 5 breadcrumbs or 5 moments in which you can drop this one story throughout the entirety of your class. And in general, I like to do this in a 60-minute setting because that's probably the most common for the yoga teachers listening, but you can always adapt it to however long your class is, between 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 75. So these 5 pieces, the very first one is somewhere within the first 5 minutes of class. It's useful to begin your class with a few moments of silence, to not just right out of the gate start talking. So make sure you give a couple of moments. But after the opening silence and opportunity of creating sacred space, you might say something like, I recently read a story about the Buddha. Apparently, he had this crowd of people who were asking him, what is the secret of happiness? And in true Buddha fashion, instead of replying, he posed another question. He picked up a glass of water and said, how heavy is this glass? Begin to notice your breathing. Start to breathe deeper, filling the bottom of your belly to the top of your lungs like water pouring into a glass. And then you'd continue on cueing your opening pranayama, your opening warm-up sequence, perhaps your first variation of sun salutation. And that would be the first breadcrumb. So you're prefacing the direction of the entire, the message. You're almost foreshadowing where you're going with this message for the rest of the class, but you're presenting it very, very early on so that the whole class has this underscored message. The whole class has this idea threaded through it, which is really what makes a theme kind of land. I often say this almost in every single one of these solo episodes, is that something that really does not work is to try to include a theme at the end or right before your students go in Savasana. It just feels a little random. It feels unintegrated. And it doesn't land as hard unless it's presented early on. So make sure that the idea is dropped early in the class. Around 10 minutes into class, your students are probably going through the sequence and they're like, she was telling a story, right? And they might be thinking things like this. So you could say something like, oh, I almost forgot that I was telling a story. Pause for laughter because you might get a few chuckles, you might get a few eye rolls. Then you could say, where was I? Ah, yes, the Buddha asked the crowd of people, how heavy is this glass of water? The crowd, they start shouting out a bunch of answers. And the Buddha affectionately looks on the crowd and says, it's actually not important how heavy the glass is. What's more important is how long you've been holding the glass. Then you could proceed to move your students into a pose and hold them there for an extended period of time. And say something like, just like holding a glass of water gets heavier the longer you hold it, notice how a yoga posture also gets harder the longer you hold it. This is the truth of all things. This is the nature of all things. And so on and so forth. And of course, you wouldn't keep them there forever. You would continue moving on. But are you seeing how these are kind of breadcrumbs or bite-sized pieces that have both the story, they have both the propelling of the actual yoga class. You're still moving the class forward. It has momentum. And it feels like a workout while also receiving this work in. So you have this beautiful balance of doing the yoga postures, but also having something that's stimulating the mind, that's sort of speaking to their emotional body, their spiritual body. It's a very, very cool method that really works. Around 25 minutes in, you could drop your third breadcrumb and continue on with the story by saying something like, if you hold it a minute, it's bearable. If you hold it a day, it's okay. But if you hold it for a year or more, that's when you get really sore. And you could just drop that one as it is. Maybe in your mind, you have another way to kind of relate it back to whether you're holding an actual glass of water, whether you're holding a yoga posture, whether you're holding something else in life that comes up. But the heart of this sort of message is that acknowledge first and foremost that you're holding something. That part is out of your control. Challenges come. You can't stop that. But what you can control is what you're doing with those challenges. And oftentimes, as the yoga philosophy and the yogis have always taught, as you know, being a yoga teacher, it's not in that thing happening that's the problem, or that usually where we get caught up. It's in holding on to it that causes us harm, that keeps us in suffering, that is damaging to the body. Around 40 minutes in, you could say something like, it's the same for our troubles and worries. When we hold on to them, they hurt us more than help us. It's not a problem to pick up something heavy, whether it's a glass of water or a cancer diagnosis. What's damaging is to hold onto it. So as natural as putting down a glass, use your yoga to help you let go. And in this particular breadcrumb, in this case, it's the fourth breadcrumb, you're really driving home the heart of the message, which this story of the Buddha with the glass of water, there's so many ways you could really interpret it. But to me, the first thing that I hear is the importance of letting go. So you want to make sure that when you find a story out there that you want to share with your yoga students, that you're able to distill the message down to either one or two sentences. Oh, excuse me, actually one or two words, not one or two sentences, because that's way too long. You want to know really quickly, like, what is this about? What is this story about? Because when you get that clear on what the story is about, it helps you know what the overarching umbrella message is. And then from there, it helps you create these little sub points that would be what I call the breadcrumbs. So I'm kind of doing it for you. I'm equipping it. I'm equipping you with this so that you don't actually have to do it. I'm already doing it for you. But I just wanted to say that so that you can also start to understand the system and start to create your own themes and understand how to create your own breadcrumbs too. So that you don't always feel like you need a teacher and that you yourself are coming up with really cool messages for your students. And lastly, the final breadcrumb is given somewhere near the end of class. I prefer to drop this breadcrumb within the last minute or 2 minutes of class, right after I've pulled students out of Savasana and I've brought them to some sort of Sukhasana position, some easy sitting shape. This is where I really like to drop that breadcrumb. It feels like it puts a nice bow tie on the class experience, and it equips them with one final sentence that really drives home this message and makes it easy to understand, and then also inspires them to actually take the yoga practice off the mat and into the world, and hopefully inspires them to create a little change, not just what they do in their bodies, but how they live their lives. So you could say something like, the Buddha finally gives the crowd a straightforward answer after the analogy with the glass. He says, the secret of happiness lies in your ability to become aware that you're holding something in the first place, and then consciously letting go. That would be a beautiful way to take this long story And instead of telling the whole story at once, which could become quite long and take up a bit of time and makes it to where you might fall into the trap of just talking too long and getting in the way of your students' rhythm. This is a way that you can take that one story and break it up and sort of pepper it through the entire class. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you liked this story and enjoy its meaningful message, and that you are inspired by it, and that you also feel courageous enough to give it a go in your next yoga class. That's my hope and my aim in sharing this with you. I solemnly swear and promise that anytime I find a yoga story that inspires me, that I will share it with you. Please do me a favor. I want you to take this and try it in your next yoga class. And after you do so, post something on Instagram, either a video of your students flowing, a picture of you doing a thumbs up. Let me know how it went and tag me, Master Your Yoga Teaching, so that I can reshare it on my story. It would mean the world to me to know that I'm not just speaking to space and it's going out somewhere, but that it's actually serving and helping you. So I would really appreciate it if you would do that. Have so much fun with the story, and also know that it's up to your interpretation. There's so many ways that you could take this one story and change the breadcrumbs. So you don't have to do exactly what I say, but maybe it inspires you to come up with your own way of sharing it. If you enjoyed this story and you're like, okay, I need to go back through and listen to this episode a million more times to remember the story, definitely do that. I would love for you to listen to it more than once. But this story is actually sent to my community, my email list. On the first of every month, I send out the mood board. And the mood board is an email that includes a theme inspiration, which is what I just gave you here, a story inspired or an inspiring story for you to use as a theme in your next class, as well as a recommended reading, a playlist of the month, which the music and the playlist of the month alludes to the theme of the month, which in this case is the theme of letting go. So I'm putting in songs that have lyrics that speak to letting go, like Trevor Hall's Put Down What You're Carrying. So I basically class plan for you. I give you a ton of music that's really going to support this theme, which will elevate the entire class experience. You're also going to get journal prompts and affirmations. So if you are not in the MYYT community, I encourage you to check out the show notes and sign up visiting the link in the show notes there. It's super easy. I'm even going to send you a free gift called the 8 Steps to Master Your Yoga Teaching. Make sure you check that out. Teach your class, use the story, post something on Instagram, and I would love to reshare it. Until then, happy May. Spread the good news of yoga, helping your students let go one masterful class at a time. Namaste blessed. Thanks for listening. If this is your first time, peruse our feed to see if there's something else that will serve you. We're so grateful that you're here and invite you to join our inner circle by subscribing to our newsletter. If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word by sending it to a friend who needs to hear this message. Likes, follows, sends, shares, and reviews help us to continue delivering high-quality content to you for free each and every week. Don't forget to tag @MasterYourYogaTeaching so we can reshare. I am a certified yogi. However, this podcast is intended for information and entertainment only. If you are interested in mentorship or coaching with me, check out the website linked in the show notes to get more information. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on the podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of MaKenzie or CLW Studios. Learn more about MaKenzie, her guests, and CLW Studios by following the links in the show notes. Keep shining, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of Master Your Yoga Teaching. Namaste blessed. Do you spend hours agonizing over yoga sequences, desperately seeking inspiration to keep your classes fresh and engaging? You're not alone. Designing dynamic flows to cater to different abilities and goals can be a time-consuming challenge for even the most seasoned yoga teachers. The Pose Bible is here to save the day. It's your roadmap to effortless sequence creation. This comprehensive resource is a goldmine of yoga poses, categorized by breadth, family, difficulty, benefits, and so much more. This will help you spend less time planning and more time teaching. Impress your students with diverse and creative sequences. Feel confident knowing you're offering a well-rounded yoga experience for all. Always feel prepared with 10 done-for-you sequences. Get your copy today for only $13 and transform your yoga teaching. This includes downloadable 85-page PDF valued at $97, 10 done-for-you flows valued at $27, everything you need to stop stressing and start sequencing. Value priceless. Stop wasting precious time on sequence creation. Get the Pose Bible today for only $13 and reclaim your energy for what matters most, inspiring your students. The link is in the show notes.